Welcome to the podcast. Súbele volumen. Conversation with the people who were with me. In the world TV. Carlos Tonight. Carlos Tonight. Historias de un reportero. Carlos Tonight. Carlos Tonight.
Hey, welcome to Carlos Tonight. Thank you for stopping by. I have a great episode for you. Before we start, I just want to let you know that Carlos Tonight is available every other Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube. You can also check out past episodes and connect to the show's social media pages at carlostonight.com. All right, this is lucky episode number 13, and we're doing things a little bit different, and I totally blame my guests for the change and for helping me think out of the box. We are recording this interview live with video and working on local television news. It's something that both of us are used to handling. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my guest this week. We met at XETV Channel 6 in San Diego at the CW. I was a reporter and he was part of the production crew assigned to make us look good. A multi-talented human being whose resume includes being an actor, a magician, and a successful social media manager that just hit more than 10K, or 20K, I should say, on TikTok, surpassing yours truly. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonah Price. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you. How you been?
You know, it's been crazy. There's been a lot of things happening. As you said, like the social media thing has taken off, and moved from social media managing to social media coaching. So I've been doing a lot of coaching lately. And I had an interview for a marketing position for TikTok. And that's all we'll kind of say with that right now. If more comes of it, then maybe we'll continue the interview with kind of a deeper dive into that.
Did I just get a scoop?
But you got a little bit of a scoop. Yeah, you got a little bit of a scoop. And so how I described social media coaching to them is basically talking to people. It's not quite motivational like life coaching, and it's not quite social media managing, but what I'm doing is meeting people where they're at and finding out how can they create sustainable content for themselves, and also how can they find value in their content so that they can create it over a long period of time.
Now, I mentioned we worked together at XETV. Did TV help you with the path to where you are now? My
dad would always say that it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. And I took that to heart in a very different way than I think he expected. I wanted to be an actor. Like all my life, I've wanted to be an actor, a singer-songwriter, right? I want to be on Disney Channel. And I was like, let's do it. Let's find a way to do it, because I won a film festival. And that ended up leading me and my younger brother to enter the Nerf Battle of the Ads competition. And then that gained traction. A lot of people were encouraged by that. And I realized that maybe I could do this full time. Maybe I could do content creation as a job. And then from there, I wanted to know more about radio, television, and film. So the first opportunity that I had at school was sports reporting. So I became a sports reporter for my college, and I was reporting on high school sports. And then from there, I met one of the top radio morning shows because I was reporting on his son's game. And so I just asked him, like, what would it take to intern with you? And so that ended up being my progression into broadcasting. And then I kind of lost sight of what I wanted to do because I had done all of these things that I found were really cool. And now we're kind of like making that curve back. And so I've been a professional actor now. I've done voiceovers. I've done some commercials. Nothing you probably would know because it's all on the outskirts. But now I've been pursuing that more full time.
I feel like I remember seeing a video of you doing sports.
You probably did.
Like a resume
reel. Yeah,
you
probably saw my demo reel, my sports. Yeah.
Okay, so this interview is a long time coming, and I'm glad we're finally getting it done. I want to first ask you, because I know you love magic and being a magician and all that stuff, right? Uh-huh. This being my 13th episode, are you superstitious at all?
I'm not superstitious.
Would Would you associate the number 13 with like magic?
I don't. A lot of people do. If you look at a deck of cards, right? Deck of cards has 13 different numbers or different faces per suit. So there's 4 suits. If you divide 52 by 4, you get 13. So 13 has a lot to do with magic, and magic came out of dark arts, like so the superstitions, all of that kind of comes along, and I'll use that sometimes for stories. I used to use it for a lot more of my stories when I was younger. Now, after working with like rocket scientists and performing for them, you can't really use that the same way. But yeah, I'm not super superstitious.
I know for a long time I used to avoid the number 13. And if I was doing something and I got selected, like, oh, here's your number, 13, I'd always ask for another number. Or if I was looking for an apartment to live in and they only had 13, I wouldn't live in there. Let's see. I got a car. There was the year 2013, and we all know how that ended up. And we'll have more on that in a different episode. But I'm learning to embrace it. And for me, there's something magical about the number 13. So I guess, how did you get introduced to being a magician?
So this is what defines a professional magician between an amateur or a hobbyist, right? Is not how well you do something, but how well you get out of something. You can sit there in front of a mirror, perfect a trick, and go out and perform it. That doesn't necessarily make you a professional or like of professional level. It's when you get stuck, how do you dig your way out? So it's how good is the recovery. My worst fault of this ever happening that I can think of to this day was I got hired for a company party in San Diego. I was not in San Diego at the time. I was actually in the Bay Area. So they paid me a certain amount of money and I was going to fly out to go do this gig. I got sick at this gig. Like I had the worst cold ever. I could not speak. My throat was going. And the person that I had to arrive to see was someone who I hadn't seen in a really long time. So I still went out, still did the gig, and I couldn't find anyone to cover. That was the worst part, is I couldn't find anyone to cover for me. So I went out and did the gig, and then I had I was doing walk around. They call it walk around magic, where you just go table to table and you perform a little show, and then you go to the next table. And then they wanted to announce, we're going to have Jonah do a show for us. And so I did it, and I forgot my routine.
How did you handle it?
I was like, all right, we're going to just like ditch as much of this show as possible, like this big portion of the show where everyone's watching me, ditch as much of it as we can so I can go back to doing close-up. From what I remember, they thought the show was pretty bad, but the close-up was good enough to get me by for that night. I don't think they'll ever hire me again, but we got past it. I got paid and I survived. But with a magic trick going south, there's been times where people won't say the correct prediction. And generally speaking, that's on their end for forgetting, but wiggling out of those types of things can be really difficult, especially when you have a lot of people watching you, or when people come up on stage and they see something that maybe they weren't supposed to. And my favorite story of that happening is I was doing a college show with my teacher was like, hey, can you fill time? I'm like, sure. And so I went up and I started doing this trick where you have 2 rabbits underneath 2 slots. So anyways, the trick is that they switch sides and then they end up changing color. And this guy comes up to me and he's got to be like mid-20s, right? At a community college. This guy in his mid-20s comes up to me and goes, hey. I said, what's up? And he goes, I just wanted to let you know. I know how you did it.
Oh, no.
I don't know what came over me at this point, but I looked him dead in the eye. I called him over, motioned him over with my hand so he'd lean back down because he was taller than I was. And I just said, I know how I did it too. And I'll never forget that because I'll use that to this day. Like, it doesn't matter to me if you know how I did it. Is did you enjoy yourself? And are you going to go out there and be a magician now? No, because you didn't spend 20 years doing it. You're not going to do it. And I also dealt with that on TikTok recently. So that's been really interesting. That's not even the first time I bombed. The first time that I bombed was when I was 14 doing my first quote unquote corporate gig. I was doing it for, I remember the Sken Galis Children's Museum. And I don't know if you ever reported there, but there were like 2-year-olds. There's like 3 or 4 2-year-olds in my audience, and they wanted the show to start. And so I started it, and I didn't expect to be performing for 2-year-olds, and they didn't care. And I just got so flustered because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And that's on camera. There is home video of that somewhere in my parents' archive that I never want to see again.
So that first time that you bombed, did it help you like improve yourself as you went on?
So I started magic when I was about 8, and then there was a shop that opened up in town, and I went and I bought a magic kit, and I just kept on going in that shop, and I asked if I could, demo or like
right.
be hired at the shop, and I just kept on going in. And instead of hiring me, he let me perform outside of his shop. And then that's when I kind of like started learning a lot about street magic, and then how do you interact with an audience? How do you have audience control? And then from there, I started getting professional gigs. People just were like, oh.
Conversation with the people who were with me in the world TV. Carlos tonight. Historias de un reportero. Carlos tonight. Dale que viene lo bueno.
I transitioned in acting, 14. So about the same time I started doing magic professionally was the same time that I started acting, and that was by accident as well. Like that was super unintentional on my part. My mom saw an audition in one of the papers, and she was like, "Hey, why don't you audition for this?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I said yes to everything, not expecting like people to remember. If like my parents said, "Hey, do you want to play tennis?" and I said yes, and I didn't play tennis, so I thought she'd forget, because my dad had drilled into my head that it wasn't for men, and like there's some expectation of men. I was like, well, okay, Brad Pitt does it, like Jamie Foxx does it, like what do you mean it's not for men? And so the day of the audition came up, and I was like, yeah, let's go start acting, sarcastically. And then my mom's like, hey, did you remember the auditions today? And I was like, no, I don't remember. She's like, well, let your yes be yes and your nose be nose. And she took me to the audition, and then I got a role, and then they wanted me back. And then that just kind of ended up being this chain of people asking me to audition. And that's like literally almost every job I've gotten from acting was because someone asked me to do it, not because I went out. Yeah.
Did you ever take like acting classes?
Yeah, so I studied acting with the summer intensive at American Conservatory Theater. So that's ACT in San Francisco. So it's pretty big stuff, I guess, there. Other acting courses I've taken acting in college, and I've taken like some workshops here and there, improv acting, whatnot.
I took acting in high school, and then when I was in college, I did John Robert Powers, I think it was called. It was an acting class when I was in between semesters. Long story. But it was fun. We did improv. It was something that I thought I would maybe want to pursue, but instead I was like, well, I like writing. I like being, wanting to be a reporter. Because while I was doing that, I was writing for newspapers, like as a side gig. And I'm like, I love writing. I love what I'm doing. But then I also love like TV and stuff. That's how I ended up on television. As a performer, as an actor, what's it like being on stage?
Well, there's two stories for that, like two different kind of perspectives on that. When I started acting, it was really intimidating, and it gave me this adrenaline high that was amazing, right? And you get on stage and you just like do it, and you get off stage and you're pumped. Now, not so much. And I think that comes with experience, as well as just with my experience, I have a different experience than most actors, where I was thrown on stage when I didn't ask to be thrown on stage, and they literally threw me in the middle of an already in production show. So I went to go see my friends in a show. They were doing Les Mis. I went to go see them, and they were sold out. And so I went backstage and was asking, like, hey, do you guys have like anywhere I could sit and just watch my friends perform? And he goes, well, why don't you just join them on stage?
Wow.
That's the best view anyways. And I jokingly went like, yeah, let's do that. And he goes, okay, go find him a costume, Colt. And my friend went to find me a costume. And next thing you know, I'm on stage. So after that experience, I haven't had nerves the same way again, because I realized that I get cast for a reason, that people are trusting me with this role, or they're trusting me to be on stage. And it's a collaboration at that point. Now, I don't know if everyone sees it that way. I don't think everyone sees it that way. But if you work with me, there's a reason why you're working with me, most likely. And that's usually because you want to work with my expertise and what I've been doing.
So what's the process like? You memorize a monologue, and then you look and see who's doing auditions, and then you go and audition? Is that right? So
my process is probably a lot different than other people's processes. You generally learn a monologue. You have a few different monologues that you can perform. I'm a musical theater guy, so I don't have too many monologues, and I need to start finding monologues or writing monologues. But the process for me has been usually someone's like, hey, you'd really fit this role. I want to see you. Come on in for a read. And so you can either come in with a monologue. Those are usually cold auditions when you're just trying to get a callback. And then the callback portion is you have a side, and then you read out the side, and you interact with the directors or maybe producers. And then from there, if you get the role, you get an email, and then you go into the first rehearsal. And then at the first rehearsal is kind of the most interesting, because that's where everyone kind of is who they are at their most insecure, right? Because no one knows each other, and that kind of will give you what to look out for in the future as you're going to be working with these people. And then you hit, the love phase, the honeymoon phase, where everyone's like all together. And then right before we come to the close, you hit the family phase, where everyone hates each other, or some people hate each other. And then the show closes. So that's for on stage acting. In commercials or B-roll or film, it's just a lot of hurry up and wait. And then you're just a face, and then you do some kind of action usually, and they go to the next thing. So auditioning for those roles, I haven't auditioned for too many films, because usually when I'm put in films or B-roll or commercials, it's always been word of mouth. Someone's knows me from somewhere. So as an actor, do you know, or do you have to know how to sing and dance? You don't have to know how to sing and dance to be an actor, but it does help for musical theater. I've been doing musical theater since I was 14, and then television acting is a lot different, as you already know, being on camera. It does also, I think, this is just my advice, is if you are trying to do television and film acting, learn to dance or learn to be athletic in some fashion, as well as learn your voice and get voice lessons. And it might not have to be with acting or singing. But learning how to control it's going to help a lot, just so that way you can convey and communicate what you're trying to over the camera, because it can be very difficult. Right now I'm acting, right? I'm looking at the camera. You're down here if I'm looking, but I'm focusing up here on the camera. And if you're an audio listener, I'm sorry that you can't see it, but check out the video portion.
Absolutely.
And so understanding kind of the dynamics of how that works is also important, right? So being athletic, having a understanding of your body and how it moves and how your body communicates, as well as being able to convey that to the camera and knowing your shot.
So you mentioned you were in theater for a long time. Do you have like a scene or a show that you were in that you remember that you absolutely love and would do it again?
Yes, there's one show. Did you know this already?
No.
Oh, okay. So I've played Benny in The Heights, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's first musical that he wrote, and that performed on Broadway. He played Usnavi. I played not his best friend, but the character's best friend, Benny. And so I played that 3 times, and still haven't felt like I've played it correctly. So I would love to play that again. And then the movie just came out, and this is news. This is relevant information, is that there's a line in the show which said Donald Trump and I on the links and he's my caddy. And they just switched it for the movie, which is Tiger Woods on the links and he's my caddy. And for me, I was devastated. I was hurt actually that they switched the line, and I haven't even seen the movie yet, obviously, because it's not out. But I was hurt that they switched the line, because this is about people of color. It's about immigrants. It's about a success story or trying to be successful in America. And to switch that line at a point in which our country is in so much turmoil over colorism and discrimination and inequality, I felt rips so much of that song when there is so much power within that one line. There is so much power from that character too, to be able to say it is a black character to go Donald Trump and I on the links and he's my caddy, with a different understanding than the original line. So yeah.
Why do you think they took that out?
Political. I mean, I think that Lin-Manuel Miranda is too high up now, that it's more for his image and not for. Unfortunately, I mean, the same thing with Hamilton, right? Hamilton is this story that a lot of people connect with, but the prices of those tickets are so high, and he has lowered the prices somewhat, but Rent was, I feel like, a story in which they would actually reach out to people in a more open form. And Lin, I have nothing against Lin, and I get it. It's hard. But that is, I don't know. I have had such a struggle with Hamilton in so many different ways. Just the approach and the appearance and the lack of accessibility for people of color, because it's just another non-person of color story told by people of color, then appropriated with hip hop culture, which is okay, but it's like we just haven't gone far enough.
Yeah, my first time seeing it was on Disney, last summer. Have you seen it before, in person, or no?
I saw it on Disney. I just saw it on Disney. I have not. I wanted to see it in person. We saw Disney Plus, but yeah.
Hey, how long were you at CW6? I feel like you were there before I started in March of 2015.
I was there off and on.
Yeah, I remember you would come in, and then you would go back to school, and then you would come back.
And they'd keep me on. Let me see if I actually have the date of when I started, because I have my LinkedIn up. Let me see. Yeah, so I was November 2014.
Oh, so okay, you were there before I got there. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, right before you got there. I didn't even know that I was there before you got there, because I think we're rotating reporters so often. I was just like, all right. it's like I was just guessing these are people that I hadn't worked with yet.
So, I forget. Did you do TV up in the Bay Area? I think you did.
I did radio.
Radio,
in
that's it.
the Bay Area, and I studied
iHeart.
television, and then I was doing somewhat freelancing up in the Bay Area. I was doing reporting for my own YouTube channel, and then trying to pitch it to people to see if they wanted to use it. No one really wanted to use it, but it's okay because it went viral on TikTok, so that's cool.
Conversation with the people who were with me in the world TV. Carlos Tonight. Historias de un reportero. Carlos Tonight. Dale que viene lo bueno.
Speaking of TikTok, I want to know, how do you become a very successful social media manager?
I think what's important with TikTok specifically is fostering a community, is really taking care of your community and kind of raising the community that you want. So in my last job, we talked about mental health a lot. And through that, I learned that we have to be the change that we want to be. And sitting around and hoping that something's going to happen isn't going to make anything happen. And it's great that you have that desire, that hope, but you have to really put that into action. And so when something has gone viral or something has gotten a lot of followers, it's really important for me to thank the people that are making it happen, because it's not me. Like, as much I can put out myself out there, and that's all I'm doing. And when you can recognize that what you do put out there has value, people do respond to that. So I've really taken my perspective of social media very, very differently. Actually, I'm developing a course on social media and how to take care of your own social media, how to have value, and how to find that, because it seems to be a thing that a lot of people have wanted to know. And when I'm coaching, my first job is to find what you like to do and why you like to do it, and then how you can do that sustainably. And I've had people be very successful at it. If they take my advice, generally speaking, you can be very successful about it sustainably. And then if you don't, you usually don't grow very fast, because you haven't figured it out yet. And not until you figure it out will you start growing.
Mm-hmm. I remember my very first video that went viral. And when I mean viral, I mean over 1,000 views. But now I think you get more than that, like way more than that. Do you remember your first video that people absolutely loved?
So I started out with like 800 views. And so then it became this like strive to hit that when I first started. And then I had to understand that that's not working my social media. That's not doing it. And I was going through a depression. And that's kind of when I'd known how to manage other people's social media, because I'd done some of that. And I'd been a social media consultant. But it wasn't until I went through that depression I realized how that affected me and how I could do that myself. And as I was coming out, like, TikTok was helpful. There was a lot of people that encouraged me through that, and I was able to connect with. And then I started building my community, right? And so starting at 800 views didn't necessarily help or hurt anything. So my first video that was like over 1,000, I can't remember, but the first video that went viral, when I was like, oh, actually I do remember the first video that went viral. It wasn't the one that I was thinking of. So my friend went viral. So I had social media coach my friend. She was doing pretty well. She ended up getting 10,000 people on her account. And then she blew up to 100,000. And I was like, yo, I'm doing graphic art and I'm bored. I want to draw people. Mind if I draw you? And she drew me and then duetted the video. And then I started getting followers like none other. And it was scary. It was scary because I would open up my app and it'd be like 99 plus notifications, and I was like, I don't know what to do with that. And that was at the height of the George Floyd movement with Black Lives Matter, and I was drawing people because I was doing it out of donation. So someone usually would donate to me, and then I would draw a love, listen, learn profile picture for them, and then I would have them post that as a profile picture for Facebook or Instagram or wherever they wanted it. And that was just to spread awareness, as well as to take time to remind people to first love your neighbor, love your human that's next to you, as well as listen to their story, and then try to figure out what you can learn from that story to benefit both of you.
I love that. And you mentioned depression earlier. And I remember I was going through a funk, and I would see your videos, and I'm like, oh, and then I would get so happy to the point where I duetted some of your stuff, and I made my own video out of it. And I'm like, oh, because the messages you say on there are really positive and kind of help me start my day. And then we connected on Instagram. Used to do Media Mondays. Which, by the way, I miss.
I miss it too, and actually,
hopefully you bring it back.
So we just got dual lives on TikTok. So Media Mondays actually might come back a lot sooner than I realized, because I enjoy connecting more with people on TikTok, and there's a higher chance of me being able to connect with different types of people than on Instagram. So we might bring Media Monday back on TikTok. But I started Media Monday on Instagram because I was going through depression, and I needed actually a distraction from my toxic relationship at the time. Because I was depressed, I needed a project. And for me, I need to get really engulfed in a project. And so that really, really helped to be able to kind of have something to look forward to and something to kind of plan. So that way I could say I was busy, even if I wasn't super busy. I could kind of use it as a sanctuary, because I didn't have one at the time.
Well, I'm glad that you got out of that funk. And I want to know how you get the ideas for TikTok. A lot of people are out there who are starting their profiles, or who are new to TikTok, or maybe they have a TikTok and they don't know what to do with it. Where do you get your ideas? Do you sit down and plan it out for the whole month, or?
I did, and I failed that. I need to do that again. It's hard because trends happen so quickly. And generally speaking, like, it's important to follow trends. And I'm not really the biggest trend follower. I want to be a trend setter. Not very good at that either. So what was important for me was finding exactly what I could do every day. What do I not mind doing every day? And the thing that I don't mind doing every day is encouraging people. I've always been someone that has thought positively throughout all of the things, the funks I've gone through. And that's something that's always brought me joy and brought me encouragement and made me feel valued, is that I can add value to other people. And knowing that is different than acting on it. So if I'm always telling people, go take a risk today, or do something that's healthy for you, or be positive, encourage someone, then why not do that myself? So that's where most of my content is focused, is in motivation. And then trends, taking a new look on trends. I've been developing content since I was like for TikTok since 2010. So understanding kind of how the trends work and seeing them kind of repeat or change is pretty second nature to me. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I'm just saying, like, I can kind of figure out what I'm good at. It's just, do I want to listen to myself? Or
what
not?
number are you at now with followers?
23K.
Wow, that's cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Again, it's everyone that's following that finds value in what I'm doing that's doing this. It's not me. I'm just putting out the content, and it's being consumed. So that's good. It always feels good when people are enjoying the content, and I just hope that I can keep giving them content that will be encouraging.
That's awesome. How long does it take you to make one?
It depends. It can be super short or it can be super long. When I'm doing my loops, I've actually gotten better at doing loops, so it doesn't really take me as long as it used to.
What are loops?
If you watch a TikTok, right, they go and then it goes back to the beginning and replays the video. A loop is getting it to replay the video without people noticing that it started again. So a loop connects from the end to the beginning. And so it seems like that's kind of a niche of mine where I can just loop something and like not really think about it and put it out. Some people spend a lot of time on those loops to make them seem seamless. And mine aren't perfectly seamless because I'm not doing it in a big editing program. I'm doing it in my phone. But I think they're good enough to where they convey the same message. You know, with magic I feel like it's the same way. It's not about how good the trick is. Like I could make a coin disappear 15 million different ways, and then I could also make one really difficult. But what people are going to see is the coin disappears, right? So it's how do you communicate that in a clear way that people enjoy.
I love that you brought out the coin. A lot of people don't know that social media is powerful because
Right.
I was doing a TikTok the other day because I heard this man's voice, and I was like, man, I love it. I want to use it. And so I was just waiting on my interview. I was doing a story. And so I was like, I'll just stare at it. I stare at the lens and use that voice, which is ironic because I think about a year ago, I did a TikTok where I just stared at my phone, didn't say anything, and it got the most views that I've ever had. So I'm like, oh, let me try something like that. So I did that with the voice, and somebody wrote and said, are you okay, bro? And I was like, because it did seem like it was kind of depressing. And when I did it, I wasn't depressed, but when I was putting the music and all that stuff together, I was like, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was kind of in a funk. So when I don't know, he called me out, and so I was like, oh my God, maybe I am like depressed or something, like that period. Not right now, but. So anyway, the power of social media. So then my question to you is, you kind of answered this, but what's some of the feedback that you've been receiving from people?
With social media? Well, so this will probably be afterwards. So one of my pillars, which is, it's really sad that this is one of my pillars, is in my bio. So I don't know if you've looked at my bio recently, but it has a quote. My age is a highly disputed topic. Because it is. People have no clue how old I am. I posted a video of my age being a highly disputed topic.
I don't even know.
You don't know my real age?
No.
I don't mind telling my real age.
What's your real age?
And so this is brought to you by
Jonah Price. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate your time. Continue success. God bless.
We'll talk off air. I'll tell you my age. No problem.
Carlos tonight, Carlos tonight. Historias de un reportero.
And that's a wrap. Carlos Tonight is written and produced by yours truly, Carlos Correa. My theme was performed by Sken Galis. Catch new episodes of the podcast every other Wednesday wherever you get your podcast, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube. Also, learn more about the show and upcoming guests at carlostonight.com.